Alright, hey guys, we are back here. This is going to be Revelation 8, and we're going to go through the whole chapter. There is 13 verses to this chapter, and this is interesting because it opens up with the seventh seal, but then it goes right into the seven trumpets, and the seventh seal. Well, we're going to read this and we're going to see. I don't feel, like I said, I don't fully understand. I'm just going through and I'm studying, and I am trying to put together everything, through the scriptures. So let's start. Revelation 8:1. It says, "And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour." Now, I had originally thought that there was silence in heaven because when the seventh seal was opened, that's because Jesus and all the angels were on their way to the earth to pick up the living and the dead, the redeemed. But I don't know if that's for sure yet. I have to continue studying and ask God to show me. So let's continue. Let's look in verse 2. It says, "And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets." So right after he opens the seventh seal, there's silence, but then nothing is mentioned. But seven angels are seen with seven trumpets. So that's what we got going on right here. "And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense." So we know that's in the holy place, because the altar of incense is in the holy place. "That he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne." Okay. "And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand." So notice the incense was burning, but the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints, and I believe that's the mixture of the prayers that Jesus prayed and intercesses on our behalf. I believe it's the mixture of the two, because remember, we can't talk to God the Father. We have to talk to him through Jesus. He's the one mediator between God and man. So that makes perfect sense now that I think about it. Verse 5, "And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake." Now check this out. Verse 6, it says, "And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound." So now we're getting into the seven trumpets. Now, as I was talking about earlier, the churches, that's the history of the church from the time Jesus resurrected, ascended to heaven, and the second coming. Okay, it's the totality, or the fulfillment of all the history of the church, the seven great periods of time. And we're in the final one right now. So, and we covered the seals, and we know that the seals have to do with the civil powers, how they're reacting to God's church, to God's people. Now, the trumpets, the seven trumpets, a sound of a trumpet means war. So the trumpets are a time of war against the civil powers, and we're going to see this because these first four trumpets that we're going to read about, this is how these first four trumpets ripped apart the Western Roman Empire, and it was done by the 10 horns, the 10 barbarian tribes that came down and carved up Rome. That happened between 395 and 476 AD, roughly about that time. So we're going to look at this. So these, what the trumpets are, they're times of war against the civil governments, the civil rulers. Notice this: the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and a third part of the trees was burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Now, from how I understand it, this is the Goths out of, I made a note here. They were led by Alaric, the general Alaric. It was the Gothic barbarian tribes of the icy north. That's why we see hail of the icy north led by Alaric, and they came for blood upon Rome. This went on from about 395 AD till about 410, and this is when the Roman Empire started to be carved up. Because the people, you got to remember, these people were, Rome was killing Christians for hundreds and hundreds of years just because they wanted to believe in the Father and the Son. I mean, they were burning people at the stake. They were throwing them into the lions. They were killing women and children and families. The people had had enough. So they were coming for blood is what they were coming for. Okay? And that's why we see here that a third part of the trees was burned up. They came from the north, from the area of around Germany, and they came right down into Rome, and they killed a third part of all the people they came in contact with fire and blood, and it was just a terrible thing. But so let's continue. Let's look at the second angel. It says, and the second angel sounded, as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood, and a third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. This is key because, you guys, this is talking about the Vandals. The Vandals came, there was one of the 10 tribes, one of the 10 horns. They came down, they went around Rome and came down to the northern tip of Africa, I believe. And what they did is they cut off the food supply that was going into Rome. And then they trained down there with the, it was the Carthaginians, because they were like the masters of the sea, the naval power of that time. They learned from them, so then they were able to attack Rome by the sea and cut off everything, and that's how they were to overcome them. So we're going to see this was done by the Vandals, who were later, they were all killed. And that's why it's perfect, because it says that it was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood. There was just blood. They were destroying everybody. They were, like to say, they were coming for blood against the Roman Empire. So far, you guys, we got the Goths that came from the north, came straight down to kill. And then we got the Vandals that went around and are coming up from the south of the naval fleet, and they're cutting them off that way. So what they're doing is they're cornering them so they can just kill everybody, cut off their food supply and all that. So let's go to verse 10. It says, and the third angel sounded. Now this third one is interesting because this is pretty cool, actually. The third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven. Now anytime we see a star fall from heaven, that is a fallen angel. That's a bad angel, an evil angel. That's Satan or one of his angels, okay? The good angels don't fall, they come down. So a great star from heaven fell, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. What's interesting is that from the study that I've done, I've seen that this is Attila the Hun. He was the leader of this, and they were coming from this would be the east, I believe, and they came upon all the rivers of waters and all the fountains of waters, and they were carving up all the villages and killing all the people as they were coming into Rome. So far we got the Goths coming from the north, we got the Vandals coming from the south, and we got Attila the Hun and his armies are coming from the east, along the rivers and fountains of waters and all the villages and everything. So they're coming to carve up and kill everybody in Rome. This is how the Roman Empire, it didn't fall. It's how it fell apart, and then it changed. We're going to see. But so that's Attila the Hun. I made a note on that too. What note did I put on here? Attila the Hun came from the east along the rivers and fountains of waters, and he brought complete destruction with him. And this happened from around 451 to about 453 AD. And I don't have the references of the study. I do have to get those in order, but I don't have them as of yet. This is still an open study to me. So Okay, verse 11, it says, and the name, oh no, we already read that. Verse 12, this is the fourth angel. Now this is the final one, you guys, that carved up Rome, the western part of the Roman Empire. This would be the religious or the church part. And the fourth angel sounded, and a third part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shined not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. Now this is interesting, you guys, because Constantine, right around this time, a little bit before this, he had 3 sons. Okay, that the Roman Empire was going between the western and eastern part, and then it was divided into 3, then back to 2, then back to 3. Well, Constantine left his empire to his 3 sons. Okay, so the entire government was based off his 3 sons. And you know what? There's a note on here that I put. 1/3 of the sun, moon, and stars. Constantine, well, he moved the capital in 330 AD. The capital of Rome, from Western Rome, he took it east to Constantinople, what today would be Istanbul. It's the most fought over piece of land. It's where the Ottoman Empire and all the Muslim nations, they inhabit that land. And it's the most highly, I don't even know how you would say it, it's the most valuable piece of land probably in the world. Whoever controls that, they believe controls the world, the economy, everything. So, well, there we go. Constantinople is highly regarded as the most valuable piece of land in the world. Wars have been fought for its possession. Many believe that he who rules Istanbul, that area there, would be sovereign of the world. And you guys can look at this. Peter the Great believed this, Napoleon, and many others. Constantine, way back in the 4th century. He's the one that moved it there for this purpose. So this is where the Roman Empire, it's split into 2. You had the East and you had the West. The Ottoman Turks have its possession today. And that's... yeah, that was that. Like I said, I don't have... But Odoacer finished this off, you guys, as the 10 tribes tore Rome up. Odoacer went into Italy, and he killed their king, and he crowned himself the king of Italy. That happened in 476, and that's what finished it off. And the Roman Empire was now split into 10 horns. So, quite fascinating. I mean, it really is. But let's look in verse 13. And it says, and I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. So notice how it groups these last 3 angels together. The first 4 we see, it carved apart and ripped apart the Roman Empire. And by 476 AD, the Roman Empire was now divided into 10 horns. The dragon now had 10 horns on his head. Okay, that's what happened at this time. But we notice there's a change here, because in verse 13, it says the last 3 are grouped together. And I believe that this is done because these last 3 are done by one nation. This is the nation of Islam. The Muslim people are the 3 last woes, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th trumpet. And we're going to see this as we continue to study this. But notice that they're grouped together. Woe, woe, woe. Woe means war. Okay, to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. So this is telling us that the last 3 woes, this is the Muslims, the descendants of Ishmael, are coming to tear up the eastern part of Rome and the entire world. And we're going to see this. And it's funny, I live in America, and in 9/11, September 11, 2001, we saw the two Arabs or 2 Muslims, they crashed into the World Trade Centers. Well, that was a warning, and I had no idea at the time that God is using the Muslim people to bring judgment on the entire world, to rip it apart. I had no idea that was a huge warning sign for the whole world, really. And I live in America, and I had no idea because nobody had ever told me that Islam was even in the Bible. You know what I mean? I had no clue until God led me to these things. So that's going to be it for now. I will get more references together as I continue this study so that I can back it up with the proper references and some of the symbols, which we'll get into. But that's it for here. We'll continue with chapter 9 next in my next video, you guys. And you guys ain't going to want to miss this because chapter 9, the entire chapter is about Islam. It's about the descendants of Ishmael, the children of the East. Okay, it's awesome how God has showed us all these things. So God bless. Let's continue to read and study. And I will see you guys in my next video. God bless.